All right, so welcome to another deep dive, everybody. Today we are going to be looking at, well, Google.
Yeah.
And, everybody thinks of Google as like this unstoppable force in tech.
Right.
And lately there have been, some whispers, some rumblings, like maybe things aren't going so great over there.
Yeah, they're definitely hitting a bit of a rough patch.
So that's what we are going to dive into today. We've got a whole bunch of stuff to go through. We've got financial reports. We've got these tech analyses.
Mm.
We even got our hands on some leaked internal memos. Pretty juicy stuff.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
So we're going to try to figure out, like, is this just a little blip for Google?
Yeah.
Or is this, is this an existential threat? Like, is Google in trouble?
Well, and what I think is so interesting about this story is that Google's kind of a microcosm of what's happening in the entire tech world right now.
Yeah.
Like, we're at this turning point, right? This power shift is happening, and how Google responds to all this, well, it's going to send shockwaves through the whole industry.
For sure. For sure. Okay, so first thing everybody's been talking about, this was the big headline, Google's revenue growth.
Right.
They have always just been posting these crazy double-digit gains, like year after year. And then last quarter of 2024, it slowed down to 12%.
That's right.
It's still growth, sure, but their stock price dipped 7% because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Investors are starting to sweat a little.
Yeah, and that 12% figure, that's a real sign that their core business model, which is, all about digital advertising,
Right.
it's starting to show its age a little bit. They've been the king of online ads for so long.
Totally.
But the game's changing.
Yeah, and I think, I think we've all noticed it, right? I mean, like, Amazon ads are everywhere now.
Oh, yeah.
And let's be real, TikTok has got us all scrolling for hours, right?
Absolutely. The algorithm is scary good.
It really is. So Google's not the only game in town anymore.
Yeah. Nope. Not even close.
So how are they responding? Well, one of the things that, like, totally jumped out at me is that they're planning to spend, I mean, like, an insane amount, $75 billion in capital expenditures in 2025.
I know. It's a huge number.
Way more than they spent last year.
Yeah.
And a lot of that seems to be this big bet on, well, on what exactly?
Well, it all comes down to data centers. Really, the infrastructure they need to support their AI ambitions.
Okay.
Google's been, a leader in AI for a while, but there's all this competition now, right?
Yeah.
And some of these companies are coming out of nowhere with really powerful AI, and they're doing it at, like, a fraction of the cost.
Wow. So they're trying to, like, outmuscle the competition.
Yeah, exactly. They're basically saying, okay, we have the scale, we have the computing power, we're going to build this AI superpower fueled by tons of data.
Wow. But, these data centers, they're not cheap to build.
No, they're not.
And their ad revenue is slowing down, so where's the money coming from? Google Cloud? Is that the answer?
Well, they're hoping so. But the cloud market, it's super competitive. You've got Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and a bunch of other companies, and they all want a piece of the pie. Google Cloud is growing, over 30%.
Yeah.
But investors, they want more. They want to see that growth make up for the slowdown in ads, and it's just not quite there yet.
Oh, man. Like they're juggling chainsaws on a unicycle over there. And wait, it's not just about competition and growth.
Right.
We found some stuff about some serious legal challenges, too.
Yeah, those are huge. You've got that antitrust investigation in China, which, could really limit their access to that market. And then there's that U.S. federal case coming up that could actually force Google to break up its search business.
Yeah, I'd heard about those cases, but I didn't realize, like, how big of a deal they could actually be.
Yeah.
Can you break it down for us? Like, what's really at stake here?
Well, so that Chinese investigation really shows that, even Google, they're not immune to all the geopolitical stuff happening. If they're forced to change how they operate in China, it could really hit their global revenue and influence. And then the U.S. case, that's even bigger. If Google is forced to break up its search business, I mean, that would completely change the internet as we know it.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot to process. So we've got slowing growth, fierce competition, these legal battles that could, like, reshape the entire company.
Yeah.
But there's one more piece of this puzzle, right? This whole thing about Google and AI ethics.
Oh, yeah. That adds another layer of complexity for sure. I mean, they made this big promise, right, that they wouldn't develop AI for harmful purposes. Well, it seems like they've kind of quietly backtracked on that.
Yeah, I remember reading about that, and it caused quite a stir. But what's behind that? Like, are they just trying to keep up with the competition, or is there more to it?
I think it's probably a little bit of both, to be honest. I mean, They've got companies like OpenAI breathing down their necks, and that chatbot of theirs has been a real game changer. Google knows they can't fall behind in this AI race.
Yeah, I get it. But at the same time, they're facing all this scrutiny from regulators, from the public.
Absolutely.
And it's a tough line to walk.
It is. They're trying to balance their ethical obligations, doing the right thing with their business goals, making money, and it's not easy.
No, it's not. It's not like they can just ignore the ethical issues here, right? We're talking about AI. This is powerful technology that could impact all of us. It's not just about making a profit. It's about the kind of future we're building.
Exactly. And Google's decisions, the things they do over the next few months, the next few years, they're going to have ripple effects, not just for them, but for all of us. So yeah, we definitely need to pay attention and try to understand what's really at stake here.
Okay, so just to recap, we've got Google facing all these challenges, slowing growth, competition's heating up. They've got these legal battles, and then there's these big ethical dilemmas around AI. It's a lot, but I think it's important to remember that this isn't just some abstract business story.
Right.
This is about technology that we all use every day, the information we see, the choices we make. So from what we've learned so far, what do you think are the biggest takeaways for someone who uses Google products, every day?
I think the biggest takeaway is that Google is not invincible. They are facing real, serious challenges that could change the company forever. The second takeaway is that the future of AI, it's still up in the air. What Google decides to do with AI, how they develop it, how they use it, that's going to impact the whole tech world. And finally, we as users, we have a role to play in this. We need to stay informed, we need to talk about these issues, and we need to make smart choices about how we use technology because we can help make sure that AI is used for good.
Absolutely.
And not for harm.
It's funny, we talk about Google facing all these big challenges, but I bet most people listening right now are like checking their Gmail or using Google Maps without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
They're so ingrained in our lives that it's hard to imagine Google not being like this dominant force.
It's true. They've become like synonymous with the internet for a lot of people.
Totally, totally. And, we were talking earlier about those antitrust cases, how they could like force Google to break up their search business, which would be a massive deal.
It's huge.
But I need help wrapping my head around what that would actually look like. Like, what would the internet even be like without Google, running the show?
Well, it's tough to say for sure.
Yeah.
But I guess we can look at what's happened in the past when other big monopolies have been broken up. A lot of times you see more competition, which can be good for consumers, lower prices, more innovation.
Right.
But it can also get kind of messy, Things can get fragmented. Like, imagine trying to search for something online, and instead of just using Google, you've got to, check a dozen different search engines.
Well, wow.
Each with their own, quirks and biases.
Yeah, that sounds a little chaotic.
Yeah, it could be.
But wouldn't it also be like a chance for new companies to pop up? Like new ideas, a challenge to the status quo?
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe even like a more diverse internet.
Right.
Which, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, think about what happened when AT&T was broken up back in the 80s. Wow. That's how we get the modern telecommunications industry. More choices, lower costs for everybody. So yeah, it's possible we could see something similar with search and online services.
Okay.
But there's also the risk that a more fragmented internet could make it harder to find good information, And it could create all sorts of new security and privacy risks.
Yeah, like more vulnerabilities for hackers and stuff.
Exactly.
Oh, man. So it's like we're talking about these two possible futures, right?
Yeah.
One where things get better, more innovation, more choices.
Right.
And one where things get kind of scary.
Yeah.
More fragmentation, more instability. It's a gamble, I guess.
It is. It is. And there's no way to know for sure what's going to happen. It's going to be messy. It's going to be complicated. There's going to be good and bad.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of complicated, let's talk about AI again.
Okay.
We talked about how Google's decided to develop AI for things that could be harmful, and honestly, that's been on my mind. Like, I get the pressure they're under, keep up with the competition.
Yeah.
But it feels like they're crossing a line.
It's a tough one, and it really gets to the heart of this whole debate around AI ethics. Like, where do we draw the line between, innovation and responsibility? How do we make sure that AI is used for good and not to hurt people?
Exactly. It's easy to get excited about all the cool new stuff AI can do. But we have to ask these hard questions.
Yeah.
Especially now. AI is everywhere, right? It's not just self-driving cars and robots. It's like the algorithms that choose what we see on social media, the ads that target us.
Yeah.
Maybe even stuff that can like, influence elections.
It's true. AI is woven into our lives, and it's only going to get more influential. That's why these conversations about the risks and benefits are so important. We need to have these discussions, you know? We need ethical guidelines, and we need to make sure that AI development is aligned with our values as humans.
Totally.
Yeah.
But how do we do that? It feels like these tech companies are moving so fast.
No.
It's hard to keep up, let alone regulate them.
It's a challenge for sure, but I don't think it's impossible. I mean, governments all over the world are starting to figure out how to deal with AI, and even within the tech industry, there's this movement toward responsible development.
Okay.
Like we're seeing these ethical frameworks pop up, independent groups that can audit AI systems, even AI systems designed to like detect and reduce bias in other AI.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But it's happening.
Okay. That does make me feel a little better. I mean, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by all this tech stuff.
Right.
But it's good to know that people are working on this, trying to make sure AI is used responsibly. I'm still wondering about Google, though. They have so much data, so many resources, so much talent.
I know.
Do you think they can really be a force for good in the AI world? Or are they just going to put profits first?
That's the big question, isn't it? Google has done some amazing things like search and maps and Gmail, but they've also had their share of controversies, privacy issues, anti-competitive behavior, the spread of misinformation. It's a mixed bag.
It really is. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to what they do, not what they say. We'll have to wait and see how they handle all this.
We will, but it's not just about watching and waiting. We, as users, we need to hold them accountable, you know? Demand transparency, push for ethical AI that benefits everyone.
Okay, so we can't just sit back and hope for the best. We have to be involved.
Yeah.
But that makes me wonder, like, what can everyday people actually do to make a difference here? It all seems so complicated and technical.
Yeah, it can feel like that, right? Like, what can I do? It's this big, complicated thing.
Right.
But, you know, I think there are things we can do, even if we're not, like, tech geniuses.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, for starters, just, like, staying informed, like we're doing now. That's a big step.
It is.
Reading articles, listening to podcasts like this one.
Absolutely.
Following, like, experts on social media, the more you understand about AI.
Right.
The better you'll be able to make, you know, good decisions.
I totally agree. Knowledge is power, right?
All right.
Especially with something like AI, which is like changing everything. And yeah, don't underestimate your own voice either. Like, reach out to your elected officials, let them know this is important to you, tell tech companies what you think, demand transparency, even something as simple as leaving a review on an app store.
Oh, yeah.
You know, about whether an AI feature is helpful or just kind of creepy.
Yeah. That can actually make a difference.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to feel like these big companies don't care what we think.
Right.
But they do pay attention.
They do.
And we can also, you know, support those organizations out there that are fighting for ethical AI.
Yeah.
There are some great groups doing research, pushing for regulations, raising awareness about the dangers.
Oh, yeah. Tons of great organizations out there. And, you know, it's not just about waiting for governments or big companies to do the right thing. We have to make choices ourselves, too.
Right.
Like being careful about what we share online.
Yeah.
You know, questioning the information we see.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking critically about, like, are we being manipulated by an algorithm?
Yeah.
You know?
Wow. Yeah. So it's not just about, like, sitting back and hoping for the best. It's about taking responsibility for how we use this technology.
Exactly.
Well, this whole deep dive has been really, like, eye-opening, honestly. I feel like I've gone from, you know, vaguely knowing about these AI issues to actually understanding how complicated they are and how much is at stake.
I'm glad to hear that. I think that's what we were going for. It's easy to get caught up in the headlines and the hype, but it's important to, like, take a step back and really think about what AI means for us, you know, for our lives.
Yeah. Remember at the beginning I was asking, is this just a blip for Google or is this something more serious?
Right.
And I got to say, I don't think there's an easy answer. They were definitely at a turning point.
Yeah.
But, you know, what's kind of exciting is that their future isn't, like, set in stone. What they decide to do, the choices we all make as users, it's all going to shape where things go from here.
I think that's a really good point. This is a moment of uncertainty, but it's also a moment of, like, huge opportunity. If we stay informed, if we get involved, if we keep asking these tough questions, I think we can help make sure that AI is used to build a better world, you know? A more just world, a more fair world, a world that works for everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, to everyone listening, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Google's uncertain future. I hope you found it informative. I hope it made you think. And I hope you feel, a little more empowered to make a difference.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Remember, the future of AI isn't just happening to us. We're all creating it together. So until next time, stay curious, everybody.